Hey YouTube, how's it going? Today I'm going to be showing you a quick and easy way to grab the value from a Speedmaster, calculate delay and off times for it, and use it wherever you'd like. So first thing I'm going to have to do is go down in the description, download the plugin and the XML file, put it into your plugins folder inside of your MA folder, and import it into your show. Once it's in, you should have it inside of a plugin pool imported, and this is what the plugin looks like. All you need to do for the setup for this is create an effect at line 1 or wherever. We can show you how to modify that later, and set up your effect just like this. So your speed group is going to be your preferred speed group that you want to recall from, whatever your tap tempo BPM is or your sound input BPM is. For example, I'm using here. Set your rate to 1, and that's it. This effect's not being run. All it's being used is a placeholder to actually recall the BPM from. So inside this plugin, what it actually does. So we're going to get the handles from it. And this is essentially just storing the effect into a pool. And right here, that second line right here is the value that you can change if you need to. So let's say you want to put the effect in pool 9,000. You would change this one value right in the center to be 9,000. Or if you want 500, put it and change it to 500. This last value is only recalling command line 1. So if you want to modify this even more and add a bunch of more lines to it to calculate different delay times for different BPMs, you just create another one of these plugins and change this to be line 2, for example, and you have 2 BPMs that you can calculate off times for. Then the rest of this is just grabbing the number from that handle, that speed handle, removing the BPM letters from it, and just storing the value for it. So if I set a BPM value right here to, let's say, 122. If we were to recall this plugin, type in the value, BPM, that variable, we can see the variable comes up. This variable can be whatever we want it to be. 144. Let me recall it. There you go. You have to make sure that every time that you are changing the BPM, you have to recall the plugin so it recalculates it. And so it just keeps knowing what the actual BPM of every time is. So how do we actually use this? Well, we're first going to have to recall the plugin from a macro. Easy as that. You create a new macro. I'm just going to call it get that SM, just so it's get that Speedmaster. That says Lua, quotations, get that SM, parentheses, quotation marks. That's simply just calling the name of the exact plugin. Or you could just, if you simply want to be Lua plugin, whatever value it is. Then inside of a macro, we're simply going to recall that macro that recalls that plugin. Just like to keep it separate for data management. And then we can assign that value, all these variables that are created inside of here, eighth note, quarter note, half note, whole note, 2 bar, 4 bar, 8 bar, to whatever value you want. And if you want to add more values to it, if you want to add 16th note or 16 bar, 32 bar, whatever you want, if you want to add more, you simply multiply by 2 or divide by 2, depending on which direction you're going to go. So if I want to add 16th note, I'm simply going to divide this in half. So it's going to be in this line, if I copy and pasted it, call it 16th note, and it would be 15 divided by V for this variable. Or if it's 16 bar, it would multiply by 2 here. It's simply just calculating all the math for you to get the delay time in seconds. So if we're going to use a quarter note delay, for example, on a BPM of, let's say we're going to use, let me see, Speedmaster 3.16 at 120. Cool. My Speedmaster is now at 120. We're going to have a quarter note delay, which is 0.4166 repeating seconds. Then, an example, I have a bump button here that's going to flash through some of my lights. 1, 2, 3. And see my off time changes. All right, let's bring it up to a whole note. Off time's a little longer. If you want to actually hear that with a metronome at 120 BPM, here we go. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. If we want to change that down to an eighth note, we can tap it in With that, everything's in time. Order note, in time with a click. And that's how you do BPM calculated off times and delay times. You can apply this variable to whatever you want. You can apply it to sequence queue times. You can apply it to fade times. You can apply the variable anywhere. All it's doing is just recalling these values from that effect in that Speedmaster that you have. So if we want to do anything else, such as positions, positions can also get calculated as well. So an example that I can use here, we can calculate here. I have a bunch of fade times and queue times that we can use for everything. So we can use assign execute queue times for their actual fade times. We can add fade times to positions. So if I have a fade time of 1 second for a position, simply enough, I'm going to bring up these lights again. Top of that. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Everything's on time. Fade, that's a 1 second fade. If I want to do a half bar, 1, 2. It's easy as that. Just applying this value wherever you need. And to kind of see what I'm actually doing inside of here, simply enough, I'm just assigning this fade time to a bunch of these position execs, which is just all the sequences that have my positions in them. And that's all you need to do. You just need to run the plugin and apply that variable to wherever it needs to go. If you have any questions, just leave a comment. I should get back to you, and enjoy the plugin.